You are listening to the voices of the... Wait, did you take the wrong turn? This is AmeLynn's Corner of Chaos. Are you sure you're prepared? Either way, welcome.
In tonight's episode, we are talking about tarot cards, astrology, and then jack of all trades, ancestry, and shamanism. And do you know who Damien Echols is? Then we are ending on cultural appropriation. Enjoy!
Yes. What cards did you get, Amelie?
Well, for my full moon card, I got the Nine of Wands, and we both laugh because we know.
We know. It's a special card.
It's a special card. Special card to me. I mean, there's no point of like, I don't know, it's not super hidden or anything, but it's very special. And I like keeping things a little bit hidden because
absolutely
she's not
because
for everybody.
Aquarius. Yeah. Yes.
Because Aquarius.
And because Aquarius. Yeah, but you mentioned some other cards as well. There were others.
Yeah, so I normally pull every week. So I just do like weekly cards. Probably too many, but I just have like a structure that I do. I normally do like a oracle card in the middle, and then I do one on the left and one on the right from my Ice and Fire deck. And then I kind of pair those two cards with a rune. And I just thought it was interesting to me. Don't know if it was for anyone else. The card that I got on the right was magic, which is like the magician, but it's magic. So it's like in a circle, a magical circle. And with that, I got Perthro. And I thought that was quite intense kind of combo there. And then today when I drew the card for the full moon, I got the Nine of Wands, which is my Lady of the Nine Fires, the Lady of Strength, as we say. And I just felt like that just felt really strong. Yeah. It feels really nice to like have her there. And she's definitely magic in that sense. I don't see her. I think in the beginning I was trying to, because like this has been coming up for so long. And in the beginning I was trying to like find a goddess. Like, who is she? Like, goddess, is she a goddess? So I was like looking for different goddesses. How does it correspond? And every single time it's been like, no, it's not really. No, not really. Because when you read books, it's written by other people. And I just didn't feel like it just doesn't. And I just honestly, she doesn't want to be called a goddess. She doesn't do rankings like that. She doesn't care, you know. She's magic.
Of that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's above and below and everywhere, but it's just this whole ranking she doesn't care for it, which I think is pretty cool. Don't tell me how it came to me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like kind of part of the human nature that we want to rank things and we want to categorize things and we want to have names for things. And if something just goes so outside of everything that it can disrupt our brain a bit, and sometimes that's a good disruption. But it's also so sometimes it can be very confusing. But it's a really good exercise to lean into these things when we're not sure, or like when we just don't know, and be okay with not having a definite answer. I mean, I'm there too. I'm still asking questions. I'm not going to stop asking questions, even though I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Like, I can live with that sort of half non-answer, non-committal answer. It's okay for now, but I will still keep asking questions. So I suppose that keeps you alive, right? It's like a sign for you still being like alive and kicking if you're still asking questions.
Yeah, I think if you stop asking questions, then it means that you're not really enjoying it anymore, or you're not expanding yourself.
Yeah, I guess the expanding
in that sense
is a thing.
Because if you're not asking questions, this means that you're not interested enough, and just like you know. And I think that's very important. Yeah, just stop, right?
I haven't done my full moon reading yet. I was gonna do it yesterday, but then we did a recording, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it today. Or tonight after this, I think. And I usually do I have a reading that consists of 7 cards for that. So it's more like a kind of bigger but fast reading. I've been doing this for like a few years now, so I'm just like, so I don't have the reveal for that yet. But my and I'm with you on that one, because I also do like weekly cards, and I usually do it on the moon days. So I pulled my weekly card, and I always, not always, but for the past year or so, I'm using the Wild Unknown
Oh yeah.
tarot for the weeklies, which is like, it's very different than most of whatever. It's very different. It's a very different kind of.
It is very different.
It's
I have it
a very,
somewhere. I have it
and
somewhere.
yeah, and it's just so nice and small, so it can just live on my desk, and I can, I just draw from it, from the weekly. And I mean, I would swear, because I mean, when I do readings for myself or when I draw cards for myself, it's like that whatever deck I use, they only consist of like 6 cards or so. I don't know. And this deck is one of them for this week. I got the King of Wands.
King of Wands. In my head, I was thinking Knight of Wands, Knight of Wands,
It's
Knight of Wands.
It's Knight and King. It's a bit interchangeable. So it depends on kind of the energy. For the Thoth, he's the Knight. He's not normally the Prince, but sometimes. But all the other decks, it's kind of interchangeable with the Knight or King. Yeah. So that's my weekly one. And for when we did the lunar calendar spread for this month, I just had to find it because I'm so good at just forgetting it. Like, I'm just erasing my awareness about some things, and then I pull it back up. And for this new moon, because we went for the new moons, I have the 3 of Wands, which is also one of those cards. So
that's for the new moon that just
so this
passed,
new
right?
moon, so this new moon until the next one. So we're still in that phase, and I have not checked out the full moon yet. So that, but I'm kind of itching to do it right now, but I'm not going to do it live. Let's see me humiliated by the universe live. Anyway, hello and welcome to tonight's episode of AmeLynn's Corner of Chaos. We decided to start with chaos today.
Chaos.
We'll just straight into it with a conversation of our cards, because that's how we started our conversation today. So let's just record. So yeah, welcome folks. It's been a while that we've actually recorded. We've done a lot of recordings with Occultinarium though, so kept us busy. Yeah, so how are you doing?
Shook.
Shaken. Yeah.
Shaken and stirred. That's how it feels like, shaken and stirred. But at the same time, nothing happens.
You said that you had you've been having a difficult month.
My month has been, one shouldn't blame things on cards, but...
No, but they're indicators for stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. Is that whole 5 of Cups scenario for the June. I feel like this June has been one of the more, I can't really say it's been emotional, but it just felt it's been just a lot of anxiety for no reason. But I don't know. I think it's because I've been living in this town as well for way longer than I was planning to, and I still don't know what to do. And I think that those two kind of clash a little bit because I have normally more of a clear view of what I want to do. Specifically, if I want to move somewhere, there, I want to go there. Or this is great. And now I just don't know. It's not very bad here, but it's just not fun here. Something has to happen. When you get a little bit too not comfortable, but just get too lazy in a spot.
4 of Cups.
So I don't like that. Yeah. It just it's a bit of a 4 of Cups scenario maybe.
Right.
There has to be a little bit of but it will come. It normally does, and when it comes, it's like a bam, and it comes.
Yeah, so you already start. I don't know how it is with you, but I guess with a lot of people who are a bit sensitive to energies or whatnot, or maybe in general, just that changes start with you, and then if you realize that something's off, then things might start triggering. So if you're in this thing now that you're irritated by that, as expressed with the 5 of Cups. And maybe things happen
Yeah.
or not. I mean, it could go either direction. If you just look, okay, now we're like just going off on like Tree of Life and Kabbalah. But you're right, if you're in the 5, you could go back into the 4 and being like, yeah, you know, whatever, and sliding into a 3 of, woohoo, this is great. But if you're like, I don't like it, you're probably gonna be more going into another direction.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I'm going to draw the new card tomorrow. So it will be
Mhm.
interesting what that will be.
Mhm.
What if it's another 9 of Wands? Who knows?
But what would she want to tell you with that then? If she's just like, you know, what are you saying?
It's more of a, I just feel almost like I have to be strong, and within that I have to be very patient. I just feel like there's a period of patience somehow.
Mm.
We were talking today about this Jupiter
Mhm.
moving into Leo as well,
Mhm.
a little bit, in these houses that confused us completely.
Yes, because we're noobs with astrology still.
Yes, I'm just, it's, I just,
I'm
because
slowly
I looked
moving
it
out
up.
of the noobs, but it's like there's so much stuff with astrology, and you get your corner so where you start to learn. But I'm still
Yeah.
definitely a noob with
Yeah,
the houses still.
yeah, me too. Because
Mm.
it said you're supposed to go by your ascendant.
Mhm.
So look, because at first because Luigi sent us the houses, so I looked up the 7th house, and I was like, I feel like it's the opposite.
Mm.
Like when I was reading about it, I was like, I feel like it's the opposite, because the 7th house is like relationships and things, right?
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
just like, I just don't feel like Jupiter and then Leo, and like this whole expansion thing, and like this doesn't feel right. And I was like, I need to check this out. And then it said, actually, you should look at the ascendant. And so I did that, and it's actually in the 1st house, and
Mm.
that's like about me, like that
Mhm.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, this feels, and I feel like I've been trying to do this for so long. It's like reinventing myself, or not reinventing myself, but like getting back to a little bit how I used to be,
Mm.
but in a more mature way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've checked, I've tried to check on the app, but where and what? So I just got confused and I didn't go into it anymore. So I have no fucking idea where Jupiter is in regards to myself and my houses right now. But yeah, because it doesn't matter. And I cannot check
Right.
right now because my recording device is for my apps are on.
Oh yeah.
No.
Well, I don't know, this whole like astrology thing, it just mind boggles me. And like I mentioned before, like I'm not, just because something is in my chart, I'm not like, this is me and
Mm,
this is how I am. I'm not
mm.
a follower of the astrological
Principles?
self-development principle, but I do find
You
it
don't
very
trust the
interesting.
stars, excuse me.
You know what? It's more about it. I do it like, I like to do it the opposite. I
Mm,
find it really interesting to read about it.
mm,
And when something fits, and many times a lot of things do fit, I find that amazing and I find it really cool. But
mm.
just because certain things fit, I wouldn't then apply myself as an, oh, then everything fits. If a lot of
Yeah,
things do make sense, it doesn't mean that everything makes sense. And I think this is
yeah,
one of
I get
the,
that.
yeah, it's just the way I am. You know just because something has one thing that is very good doesn't mean that everything is good. It's like you buy an album from your favorite favorite artist or something.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
will be 10 songs maybe, and 2 of them might be really shit. You know, it's just the way it is.
And then you
But you
love them
still,
in a way anyway because it's your favorite band. It's
exactly,
just,
it's
it's
your
not as
favorite band,
good.
so you just,
It's not
you
as
know,
fun, but I'll get used to it. Yeah,
exactly.
the
So,
fan feelings. Oh gosh. Yeah. I don't know, like the more I like quote unquote know about astrology, the more I realize just how it all convoluted. I don't think it's the right word, but it's just everything is so in. So basically, I understand why something would not work when, if you just look at where the planets are, for example, in regards to where on your birth chart, and then you're like, Jupiter is, I don't know, and I don't remember. I think it's in my 8th house or something. Say Jupiter is in the 4th house or whatever, and then they're like, yeah, you're probably a person who's like so and so and so. But then there's stuff that, then if there's like trines or, if it's square with something, then that is like bad. So it might be that. And that you have to know. So it could be that a position that is actually kind of good, if you just look at it superficially, is actually then squaring or some other stuff with something else, with all the bad stuff. For example, it's like, oh, actually, it's kind of difficult for you with this placement because so and so. And that requires that you know like a lot about it, and you can see like all the little hidden things in a birth chart that I, for example, wouldn't see yet, because I have to go like through everything step by step and then go like, okay, this might be that and that might be this and so on and so on. So I understand that certain things will not fit. Also like when people say, look, I'm an Aries. I'm not, but kind of. But it's like, I'm an Aries, and it's like, okay, but in which system? Is it sidereal? Is it tropical? And is you talking about sun sign, right? And that's also just a modern thing, that people focus so much on the sun as like the major, and this is me, which doesn't apply. Well, it's just like not necessarily correct, the most correct way, right?
Yeah. It's
And
so
then,
broad as well, because it's like a whole month. So
yeah. Well, and it's also like you could be like a sun Aries, but then it's like, well, and in what house though? So that gives it like another thing. So it's like, and then and what trines and what squares, and then so it's a whole language. I find it very interesting, but and I do want to learn more, but I'm not yet at the point. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to astrology school, because maybe in a few years. A lot of people I know have started this, like here, like people that I've been in contact with, like from like more like magic workshops, or people that have been in the same, like the shaman school or whatnot. There's people who like do one thing and then suddenly like, oh, and now I've been studying astrology for 2 years with this famous Norwegian astrologer, and I'm like, okay. So that's something that maybe happens at some point in the future. I don't know. Yeah.
I'd love to see. I have this problem of learning one thing very well, because like I have a lot of interests, and I know a lot about different things, but I find it very difficult to like focus on one thing and become really good at it. And I have a feeling that if I started learning astrology or had a course or something, it was like a 2-year thing, I just have a feeling that it would just exhaust me after a while. And then I would have to jump onto something else and then maybe go back to it. And I think this is how I kind of do things. I get very, very focused on one thing. And then suddenly, when I know enough about it, I just stop doing it, move on. And then I go back. I go kind of back and forth. I'm not completely jumping onto completely new things many times, but I find it very difficult to just like focus on one thing only, and become really good at it. Therefore,
I'm
I
gonna
feel like
sing the Spectrum song.
How do you do that?
I was like, I'm not okay. But
Yeah.
sorry. But yeah. I mean, I have to really like something to be able to have continuous focus on it for like a long time. That's the hyper focus. But then I also don't feel that I get, I mean, I don't know. I'm also more like what you're describing, sort of like jack of all trades kind of thing. Like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from what you're describing, right? And for me, it's like also like I've dabbled in so many things, and I have like basic knowledge about a lot of things, but then my brain is just so kind as to sort out the things that have been gone from my awareness a while, and then suddenly I don't remember a thing about these things that I used to be good in. Not really, not if it's like something that is like, say, crafting or so. Like, for example, I've been like super into crocheting, crochet animals and stuff for a long time. And I made my own patterns. And so I was really good at that. And then it's just something came along and I stopped, right? And then after maybe 3 or 4 years, I was like, I kind of want to crochet. Because I had this idea of making like a little goodbye sort of gift to some friends and wanted to do little like lace crochet things. So I was like, yeah, I think I'm probably still know it. And I didn't remember how to start off. So I had to look that up, like the basic thing, the most basic thing, like because it was so in the muscle memory, but I couldn't connect it. So I had to look that up. And then after that was just like everything just like worked smoothly because it was muscle memory that got activated. But to get
I
get
get
over
like
that
that with
thing.
knitting. I get like that with
Yeah.
knitting as well. I have these like bright ideas, like, oh, I'm going to knit everyone hats, and I do it one season, and then I don't do it for years, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I want to knit something, and then, like you said, I have to look it up because I don't
Yeah.
remember how to start. But then
Yeah.
once you get going, it's just there. Yeah, it's very odd. I actually did had a discussion about this whole thing of like being a jack of all trades and knowing a lot of things, and how I find it that it's a little bit like difficult in a sense, because if you actually want to do something in a context of like, if you, let's say you want to start a YouTube channel, it's people, I mean, people or societies, like, they want you to be good at one thing. So you have a theme. So, people know what you're good at and they come to you for that, right? So in a sense of like knowing a lot of things about a lot of things, different things, almost in the world and the society, it almost makes you look like you don't really know anything, because people associate this with like, well, you don't really know anything because you jump from one thing to another. But actually, what I find really interesting is like, I was reading some articles about it. I don't remember what it's called, some kind of super brain or something. But just because the people that know, or basically are like jack of all trades, they are actually super intelligent because their brain connections that connect a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different things that people normally wouldn't connect. So in a sense, it's actually better to know a little bit about a lot of different things.
With the
Because
super glue, with the
yeah,
connectors, basically the connectors between the people who are specialized, because people who are very specialized, I think we talked about this before, but anyway, like people who are very
yeah,
specialized, they just see they're like tunnel vision very much. They just see their own field. But then in order to like have like a person who's specialized with A and a person who's specialized with B, they won't find common ground, or it's difficult for them. So the people who then know both A and B and C and D just a little bit, they can like make the pathway for them to talk to each other.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's difficult. Like I agree, it's like in the society, like you have to be the best in your field. That's what's being pushed. It's what you want to have on your CV is that you have like 10 years of experience with a certain thing, and you have like so many degrees about this particular thing, and you're specialized about the specialization about the specialization, and that's your thing and nothing else, and that's what people want. But then, or what some people want, but then it's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like,
Yeah, I feel like we need to like bring back
jack of all
this jack of all trades kind of, because I find it like it makes it more interesting in a way. I think most of us, most people probably don't really benefit of just knowing one thing and one thing only in general. If you're just like a normal person, maybe it's really good for like, well, obviously if you have a hobby, or maybe it's really good
Yeah.
if you really want to like make it big in a job or something like that. But I think like in general in your life is actually good to know a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, if you have like a particular astrological placements where everything is just pointing to you being like all Venus and all arts and all, say, Leo, Venus, blah, blah, I don't know, right? And all you want since you're like a child, you just want to be on stage and sing, for example, or play an instrument. Do you want to be the best violinist, whatever? And that's like your dream. And you burn for that and you have the passion, and then everything in your life, you just, but most of the thing, that's just what you pour your energy into. You become the best violinist of your country and you keep exploring and you keep being, and then you are on stage, and that's your pinnacle of your destiny, whether self-chosen or actually whatever. But that is what you want to be. Great. Now you're a specialized violinist, and and you did it. Good job. I guess even those people might get hit by a certain ennui at some point, being like, oh, what if I had just traveled instead of sitting at home and studying violin? When they come over that certain age where you kind of try to orient yourself into other things, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting.
I find that with this as well. I mean, many people are very happy. So if they choose a path and they're really into one thing and they kind of go for it. But then I find, maybe it's just me, but I'm thinking like, what if this person has put in like 20 years into one thing and then they realize that, hold on, actually it's not really right. So there's something that doesn't feel right. And it's almost like, but I already put in 20 years into this, so I just have to keep up the appearance. I have to have this image.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you kind of start lying to you. It's not lying to yourself, but you kind of like gratifying what you.
Yeah, I mean, this is very common, right? It's like a lot of people who just choose a job, or the job chooses them when they're young, and then they just stay in it, and then suddenly they're 40, and then they're like, do I actually like doing this? And then you're like faced with this big thing about, okay, but do I just continue because now I know how to do this and it's too scary to start something else? Or do I want to look at what I actually want to be doing? So midlife crisis and all that stuff happens, right?
Yeah, maybe that's what people go through.
Yeah, but I don't like. Again, this is one of the things that I don't know too much about, but I know like in what I've just found out and explored, like with Saju, like the East Asian astrology system, they also look at like your, I think, decades of years. And like after every 10 years, something big seems to be happening in people's lives. And I think it's after you turn 40, or like after the 39th birthday, when you're like 40, a big shift starts happening. And I believe that is, I might be so super wrong, because maybe that's when you're 60, but this might be when all the zodiac basically is back at point zero. If you're thinking like the Asian zodiacs, with like, if I'm born like a fire rabbit, so maybe in a year, maybe it's not, maybe it's when you're 60, but at some point you get to the point where the fire rabbit comes again, and then it's like a zero. And I think you're older. So I got derp, but something also
it's
happens
like a
when
reset.
Yeah, it's a reset, but also something with like 40. That's where the golden period, they call it, starts when you're 40, like for everybody, maybe especially women. It's all of these information that is somewhere in there.
That's the Jack of all trade, yeah.
That's the Jack, but then it's like, I cannot confirm because it's just something that I might have heard. It might be completely wrong. But yeah, anyway, with 40. And for my Sag was that, so I'm very excited to see whether that happens or not, because after I'm 40, that's supposed to be when I'm open for actually, or not open, but when the right person comes or has the possibility to come into my life. So I'm like, okay, we're not gonna date now. We're gonna wait until I'm 40.
That sounds interesting. I'm looking forward.
It's because my Sag was probably like, yeah, no, you will not have lasting relationships until you're 40. I'm like, oh really? Oh cool to find this out now that I'm 30 something. I think I was 39 or 38 when I first got into was confronted with the Saju, and it's like, yeah, it's very clear. No lasting relationships. I'm like, okay, cool.
I need to.
In retrospect, that was a retrospect
started
thing.
Looking into it, but I never understood.
Yeah, and it's a bit difficult with what systems, like when you put in your data, like it's different systems again. I found the Vedic system extremely accurate to what like my life and my energy. So the whole the Nakshatra stuff. So that was like that was quite mind blowing. So
Yeah, I find
I
that
like
very
that.
accurate as well. The stuff that
Yeah,
I've been looking into, I have been finding that quite accurate as well. See, there's so many systems. That was another
I
thing
know.
I
Yeah, yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
before about astrology. It's like there's just so many systems. It's very
It's
difficult,
also.
What if you like do, the Western astrology for like 10 years and then
Mm,
suddenly you go like, "Oh, actually, the Vedic is just so much better." Like, what do you
mm,
do? Do you
mm.
just jump ship or do you just like, feel bad that you put
Try
in
to
10
combine.
years and then you
It's
kind of,
just
try to
be like the
scramble?
temperance. Be like the temperance, the art card. You just take the two and make something new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I
is
think.
when you become individual and yourself, maybe.
Yeah, the Aquarius, the Aquarius. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I like that, and I'm not like I'm at a point in my life now where I don't get. I think I just said that, but I don't get too confused about if certain systems don't say the same thing because I'm like, okay, this is interesting, and that fits more than that or whatever. But and it's just like because astrology is a big topic, I guess, today. But even just the thing with the tropical system versus the sidereal system, and both of that is like Western, based. But still, there we have a different sign. Like our sun sign and our moon sign is different, and for some people, even the ascendant is different in both signs. And people say that you're neither only one or the other. And once I looked at the sidereal, I realized like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm a bit more actually like that sign in one and more like that. Like, for example, like going like examples, right? Because in the tropical system, what I've grown up as and what I know, my sun sign is a Taurus and my moon sign is a Sagittarius, and my ascendant is a Virgo, right? So that's my big three. And I think I have felt like kind of Taurian most of my life. Like, I think this whole thing about like, the beautiful things and aesthetics and enjoying life and being very chill and calm or lazy, some people say, but it can also be the ADD. And not lazy, but just, but anyway, so there's a lot of that quality that I feel is correct. With the Sagittarius, I don't have this thing. I mean, I used to travel a bit, or I like traveling, but it's not, I don't have an obsessive thing about traveling, but I have more of this, the mind traveling, right? With the Sagittarius. And also people say that, just traveling like a shaman, that is also very Sagittarius. So going into other worlds, that is also very me. But then when I look at the sidereal, or even before that, so I feel there's certain signs that I understand well for some reason. And it's always been like Aries. I understand them very well, although I don't feel like, hmm? and and I've always liked Scorpios very much. And then I figure, okay, in sidereal, I am a Sun Aries, and my moon is I'm a fucking Scorpio. And then I realize everything after maybe my 20th birthday, like when I was a little older, I feel, or I've been feeling, or my inside, my internal self was much more like a Scorpio than a Sagittarius. So, and that's also in the nakshatras. I'm in Anudara Pada 4, which is also Scorpio, and it's very I think there's like, I'm basically a triple Scorpio in that, because also the different, like every nakshatra has like 4 padas, like it's a bit like the decans, right? And each of them has a different, again, like a different energy to it, and each of them is also associated with a sign. And then the Anudara is associated in itself with Scorpio, and then my Pada 4, I think, is also associated with Scorpio. So it's like Scorpio, and then I think there was something else. So it's just, I'm like, I'm not just a little bit Scorpio, I'm like very Scorpio, Yeah, that tracks. Interesting that I never knew this or never read, but that tracks a lot. Yeah, while I do feel more Taurian than I feel like, and I get the Aries I have, even in the tropical, I have Venus and Aries, right? So there's this very combative or passionate way to romance
Passionate.
and art. We can focus on the art, not necessarily it's the art and everything, but yeah. So there's always been some Aries there, but it's like sun sign. I don't think not as much, but it also makes kind of sense. So it's like, yeah, I drive the bus that says both ways in many aspects, I guess. Also with the sidereal and the tropical. Yeah.
I remember I checked the sidereal and I was like, nah, that's not me. Like, I just didn't feel at all. But then I thought maybe that's what I think, but maybe others would say different. Who knows? But
Who knows?
I don't think, I'm not 100% sure. I think I was a sun sign Cancer, and I'm totally not at all. I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people that are Cancer, but I'm really not Cancer, like, at all. So I kind of like that's not for me. I put that to the side. I'm like, that's not for me.
I don't remember you three, but I think it should be either ascendant or moon, right? Because if it's sidereal, then it's just one moved over. So it would be like one before Aquarius.
Or maybe so it's Capricorn then.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Capricorn.
But it could be like in the moon or the ascendant if your ascendant
Yeah,
shifted.
the ascendant is probably
the ascendant
Cancer, because
Cancer.
it's, that could be. Yeah, this is probably where I got the Cancer from. Yeah, because I'm a Leo.
Yeah.
I'm a Leo
Right.
ascendant, yeah.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
Aquarius sun, so, and I always been very Aquarius. I think I've been very Aquarius, but I think because of my life and people I had around, I had to like tone myself down a lot. And I think it's so interesting because specifically my mom, but a lot of people say like to me that like, why do you always have to be different? And I find it so strange because I'm always like trying to be like everyone else. Like ever since I was a kid, I was trying to fit in, trying my hardest to be normal, basically, my absolute hardest to fit in. And still people say that I don't fit in. So I just don't know, where to go with it. And I think at one point I was like, fuck it. And then I just but now
embrace it.
I did, and I did embrace it for a long time, but I feel, like now I don't want to. I feel like there's a certain period when you get older, like I don't want to look, and I don't want to be completely bonkers. But I feel like still to this day, I can walk around, in a t-shirt and jeans, and people still like, you are not normal.
Yeah,
which I
but
find so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to being a living being, I think, in the world that doesn't have to do with just the way that you act or the masks you put on. Or some people will be very good at looking behind those masks too, famously scorpions. But it's but also just the way that people carry their energy around, and some cultures are much more aware of that and incorporate that with how they meet people, I feel, and especially like not the Westerners so much. I mean, we used to have, I don't know when it was, 19th century, 18th, so with the aura and whatever. I mean, and then in the 70s again, like there has been some ideas of that here as well, but it's not so popular, or it's not so, the awareness isn't quite as high or not as normalized, I would say, maybe like in other cultures. There's a bunch of native cultures where it's also just that people are just, they feel your energy and they know like, okay, but this person is like that, and then you don't need to wear a mask or say, hi, I'm so and so, because people feel it. So we walk around with these things, and then some people can just, they just read it, or they, because it's right there, it's like open like a book for them, although we don't intend to, do that.
Yeah, I guess so. They're like, imposter.
Imposter! You are a chameleon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I always think that maybe I don't know, people that are dabble more into spirituality and things, I feel like we can kind of see, or we care more maybe about of how people are as people, It's something like different that we see.
The real.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people just don't pay too much attention. They maybe think about like what they're wearing and how they kind of look like, but they don't really go too deep. But I think because like we're interested in like the deep aspects of things. So, but then again, I might be wrong. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's really, I guess it's just what you focus on. Some people are just really
Mm.
focused on what they present as and what kind of version of themselves they want to present, which is very much the, I guess, representative of the sun sign, but of the sun.
Yeah.
What kind of version of yourself you want to present to the world. Although the sun itself is also about what real version of yourself, like your inner fire that you might want to bring up for yourself. Both that and what you're actually presenting. I said that pretty badly, but there's a notion there. Anyway, so I think some people are just more focused on how they want to present themselves and what they want to, if you half talking metaphysics again, and quantum physics and whatnot. How you want to collapse yourself as that people see you as, right? So when I introduce myself to a person and the first thing I say is like, "Hi, I'm a witch," then that's probably what they will try and see me as. If I go, "Hi, I'm a vet assistant," then they're like, "Oh, you work with animals," and then they see me as that, right? And that changes like a whole trajectory of how they apply reality when it comes to me, while other people are not so focused on like how they appear and what they want people to see, right? Like I wear my fancy business outfit and my fancy watch, right? It's like, okay, I'm a big animal, I have money, I'm important, and other people are just like, nah, I just want to express myself the way that I truly feel like, because I feel different than what I do as work or whatnot. And then they wear funny hats and crazy colors and very delirium of a Sandman or, whatever. So, yeah, different people are different. That's whatever they
Yeah, I guess
want to express.
I think it's really sad when people, I think it's less of this now, but back in the day, you used to always say like your name and then what you work with. So that
Oh, it's
kind of
still like
became
that.
your
Yeah, I
thing.
feel it's still like that.
I
Yeah.
don't like it. It's like,
I
well,
hate
I
it.
don't identify with
No.
my job. Like I don't understand that. Like what you do to, to pay your bills is something completely different to the person that you are.
Yeah. And when
It's just,
we spend like about 8 hours every day on our job. So it is a big part of our identity in that sense. But not all of us are lucky that we're actually doing something that is in congruence with our own self, our own identity, and how we see ourselves. And I mean, now I like the job that I'm doing, and I'm happy about it, and it's great, and it works with who I am and what I am, but it's also not how I identify myself. And before that, I had like over 15 years or so, I was just like working in sales, and um, no, that's not me. And if
that's
that's what
soul
people,
destroying.
yeah, kind of, but that's still what people ask. It's like, yeah, hi, what's your name and what do you do? I'm just like, I hate that question, or I used to hate the question so much, and now I'm just like, I'm just gonna tell them, I'm a witch. I started practicing that, I think last year, where it's just like, just do it, just collapse. When you meet new people, don't know you, but you have to spend some hours with them or whatever, like in social gatherings or whatnot. They ask what you do, tell them you're a witch, see what happens, and it's been
Yeah,
fun. But it's a
yeah.
learning curve, because I remember I was invited to a board games night by a friend, and I only knew that friend and none of the other guests, and I think there were 6 others, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. If they ask, this is what I'm gonna say. And then they asked that, and I'm like, and that's, I think, the first time ever I did it. So I was just like, okay, and what do you do? It's like, well, I'm a witch. And then, some people were like, and then there was like one or two, like one particular person who was like, oh, this is very interesting. And then there were follow-up questions. And then I was like kind of not bummed, but I was like confused, or not confused either. But like the follow-up questions came in and I wasn't prepared. Like I felt like I didn't think so far. How honest can I be? And what do I say to make it smoothly? Like you could see, like I've never prepared this conversation in my whole life. So they're like, yeah, okay, but then I'm like, well, but I'm not one of those potion witches, and no. So like, in retrospect, I was like, this sounded a little bit strange, probably. It's like I was going through it in my head. I'm like, yeah, that was not very polished. I need to practice that a bit more. So what do you do? It's like, I'm a witch. I talk to spirits. But that's all right.
I guess
Okay, cool.
also
Do I
saying
call
you're
the
a
white
witch.
jackets now? Yes.
I guess being a if you say I'm a witch is a very broad kind of spectrum of like what it is that you actually could do.
Yeah. Yes. I can't really say in Norway, you can't really say you're a shaman because we have like a very famous one here who famous for the wrong reasons. So for a while there, if you said that you were a shaman, people would be like, oh, like Dudek. It's a guy.
What did he do? What did he do?
Well,
Why is he famous for the wrong reason?
so I am a person who's obnoxiously, notoriously bad with like people, VIPs. I don't really care about their private life and stuff, so I don't really follow that. So all of this is, or most of this is going to be wrong information or very just half information. But the thing is that the thing is that our crown princess or princess, or she married, she like we have one that is a little bit a special snowflake, we would say, because she's more interested in like into supernatural stuff, but more like new agey, and she's a bit, everybody's like, okay, yeah, she's a bit different. And then I guess she ended up married. She got into this guy who I don't remember where he's from, the US or from I don't remember, but he came to Norway or somehow they met. I don't know. And he is a self-proclaimed like a shaman, right? He's doing shamanic work. I have not looked at what he's doing much. I just know there's been a lot of talk about him, just like when they started to getting to know each other. And some people think that maybe he just pulled her into his, like he manipulated her or something. And then, they married, and now he's like kind of part, or then he was like kind of extended part of the royal family. And people are like, yeah, he probably, and he seemed weird. Like, I mean, what I've seen or heard about him, like the vibe, I feel the vibe is a bit off, It's more like one of those, I don't know, but he seems, I did not check him out in the way that I checked him out, right? But it seems a bit like a little bit fake, or maybe the wrong word is, I don't know.
No,
It
I
was
mean
a
that's
bit
fishy.
fishy.
That's what you
Yeah.
get from the person. I think is
Yeah,
valid.
or what people say about and what people say they have seen and stuff. And I mean, he's one of those, good for him, right? But he's one of those people who makes talismans apparently and then sells like one talisman for several €1,000 or something. And then you're like, that doesn't seem like a very upright and honest thing to do. It's like, for people who are not famous. It's just, okay, I'm making a talisman and I'm like, I'm feeling bad for even taking €20 for it, but I have to live from something. So please, if you would give me something for it, right? I feel that is a better approach than, okay, I'm famous now, so I'm going to make you a talisman and you give me like several hundreds or thousands of dollars or euros for it because this is a special protection by me. Also that, and then he got very, like this whole thing it blew up, and then he was a lot in the media at that time, and I wasn't following the media, but that was like the shaman in that time. So if you would say like, I'm a shaman, it's like, oh yeah, like Dudek, and I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know him personally. I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah. So it's a bit
So
like
he basically kind of made it bad for shamans to come.
Yeah, or at least in the way that people especially wouldn't take you seriously. Like I think before him, because there's not a big tradition in the modern Norwegian way with shamans, but I mean there's the Sápmi people, so the natives that have lived and been living here before the non-Norwegians came, and they're living in like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia, even like before the borders were a thing. That's where
It's like
their main areas.
Same
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I should say Sápmi. Yeah, Sápmi.
Oh,
Is
it's the
same.
same. So this
Yeah,
is it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like a language thing. Yeah,
Yes. So
got it. Yeah.
so them, right? And they have shamans and all that. So before the whole Jurek thing, if you were to talk about, you're a shaman, then people might associate, oh yeah, are you Sami? Are you Sápmi? Are you, and it's like, oh no, I'm not. I'm from this tradition or that tradition. But that was more like the idea that people would get. And that would be a bit more with respect. And then with this whole scandal thing happening, people were like kind of making fun of it, because then it's like, yeah, okay, you like Dudek or something. So that was a bit iffy. I think it's blown over by now. I'm not sure. Fun story. Actually, I have a small anecdote here. Because there's these dance events that are like holistic dance events that we've been organized in Oslo for a few years. And I just found out like a few years ago. And they're very much like you come as you are, you dance barefoot on carpets, and it's very like deep trance, deep tech, like it's really like releasing, and it should be without alcohol and whatever and without substances, but people do whatever, if they have, but it's like a very respectful environment. It's very great. Like you go there and you really just dance yourself. You use the space that you want. You can really express yourself and nobody bothers you. Like it's really beautiful. It's really inclusive. People dress as whatever. Like one time I've seen a guy like come in. I think the first time I went there, and I was like a guy or like with a cowboy hat and then with a big like fur thing over his shoulders and otherwise torso like bare. But like it's just weird, like, or not weird, but very special styles. And yeah, it's really it's great. Right. But anyway, so I've been going to these events for a while. And I think it was last year. And I think it was when my mom was visiting, because then I invited my mom to go to one of those dance events with, because when she was younger, she used to dance at club like all the time, like when I was a little kid. And then she stopped doing it because she didn't have friends and she got older and whatnot. And I was like, hey, do you want to dance? Do you want to come out dance with me? And she's like, so we went, and then we're hanging out, we're dancing, and she's over there, I'm over here, like each in our own like little thing. And then I noticed like these people, I'm like, they're a bit different. I mean, like suddenly there's 4 or 5 like kids or whatnot that didn't really seem to fit into the whole other. It's like, oh, this is a bit strange, but okay, dancing. And then I see this other person, I'm like, wait, is it? And I'm like, I think it is. And it was a man, like a black, like African, man. I'm like, he looks, could it be that this is Zodiac? Because I've never met him. And I was like, I think he looks a bit like whatever I've seen in the media. And I was like, huh? And then some other people from the events, they came and they saged him and they were like, oh, and I'm like, and then there was some exchanges of like hellos and greetings and more sage. And I was like, okay. And then after the event, I Googled him to check out what he looked like again, because, I was like, is it really him? And it was him. So I was at a party. I was on a party with him. So apparently he frequents, I've never seen him before that, but he was there at that event. And then after that.
So he's not Norwegian then? He's not Norwegian.
No. He was not. He was not originally Norwegian. I don't remember where he was from. US. I think he used to do it before. But again, I don't know my VIPs very well at all.
See, for me, I'm very funny about this, and I know people hate it because they're like, "Oh my God, Amelie, you're so racist," but I don't care. Because to me it just feels many times like if you're like a shaman, let's say like you really want to have like the Nordic kind of like, because the spirituality is so intertwined with earth, with like the nature and stuff. I find it really strange if someone like just, you can be interested in it and you can like, but it's like I wouldn't feel like it's genuine because the bloodline is not there. I would like, if I would want to call upon a shaman, I'll be like, have you been Icelandic for like 10 years? I mean, like 10 generations. I don't know. Like for me, it has this, there's this ancestry kind of thing. And I feel like that would be so like weird, because if you have like ancestry in like Africa and you're into like shamanic things and stuff, wouldn't it be more interesting to like look into like where like your ancestry and like that kind of like spirituality and like that kind of, I don't know, is it just me? Probably just me. I know nowadays it's like all over the place. I think it's different. It's different with like religions, because they're like global religions. But I find with like these very specific spiritualities that are very rooted in ancestry and very rooted in like nature and seasons and things like this, I'll be like, I know, like, okay, maybe you were born here, but that's not like natural to you. Like seasons are not natural to you. And if that was me, I would just, yeah, I don't know. It's just, that's just my thinking. I don't care what people think about me. They can say whatever they want.
No, I mean, I get that kind of opinion. Like, I mean, that is That is one side for sure. Like, I don't know what kind of shamanism he practices, so I don't know whether that is rooted in
Voodoo.
everything.
Maybe it was
Yeah.
voodoo.
Well, if it was, then
'Cause
that
that's
it
cool.
didn't seem. Yeah, it didn't seem like it. It was like, again, I think he was from the US, but I don't know. But that's an
That's
interesting.
why probably he came off not very genuine, because
Yes, probably because it's all about just presenting yourself as the best.
I'm
and
not
whatever, I
trying to
suppose.
shit on American people. It's not that. I'm just
The good
I'm
ones
just saying,
know
like,
why they left, though.
yeah, but I just find like many times just like the American accents can be very like dramatic sounding, because they're like,
Yeah,
it's just very almost like they're acting, but
it's
it's the
very
way they
areas.
speak.
It's very
Very like,
areas.
yeah, yes, it
You're right.
is. And I find it like maybe people in the UK specifically, because obviously like British English and then, American is so different. They find it a little bit like plastic,
Yeah.
because British English is just very.
It's Ken and Barbie. It's very
I
plastic.
guess Americans are like, oh my God, you guys sound so gay.
The actual bloodline, like the actual ancestry that you come from, right? Where with all the genes is one thing. But then if you believe, and I kind of do, like, because I've done like the past life stuff and whatnot. So it's very hard for me to not believe in it, that there's also like a soul ancestry that is not necessarily following the actual bloodline. So if you're following, because if I were to follow just my bloodline, then what is officially natural to me is like everything that's like Germanic, Slavic, and a bit like the Hellenist, like the Balkan, like the Greeks. And interestingly enough, I am quite attracted to like a bunch of that, although I'm completely disconnected to my Slavic roots, unfortunately, although there is so rich. But that is what at the ancestral line, just from my genetic code, that's where I'm coded. And yes, I also do feel a little bit like I would not feel completely correct for me to go like assume, for example, if I were to, I mean, again, it depends, but if I were to go like, okay, now I'm going to learn just Japanese shamanism and act on that, because that's not my culture. Although me personally, I have studied Japanese culture for many years, for like 6, 7, 8 years, something. So I do know a lot about the culture, and I do feel the culture, and I do feel the spiritual way, but it's not my ancestral bloodline. And if I were to show up in complete like Miko, the Miko outfit, that would not come across as very genuine, I think, because it's very, but at the same time, if you're going into like, blood ancestry, not blood, but like a soul ancestry, and believe that that is a thing, that the soul just transfers and that the soul doesn't really have borders or a genetic code in that sense, then the soul that inhabits this body right now has been, has had a living body in a different culture. And then if I unlock that somehow or connect with that, then it might actually be natural to me or to my soul to follow a shamanic path that say is South American or something, because that's where the soul is rooted somehow, right? So I feel in that case, I find it a bit difficult to say that somebody couldn't. But at the same time, it would also be strange if I were to, like, for me, like, I wouldn't feel like it's genuine if I were to completely adopt like a different official or visual or blood culture, that is obviously not. And then again, you have people who have been brought up in a different culture that is different from what they look like, but it is their culture. And then are they not allowed? They should also be able to practice what they, do. So it's like, it's a bit.
I think like, I don't think there's anything wrong with study and be interested in other cultures, and you can be so deeply into, like I said, I think I think I see it differently when it comes to like there's global religion or spirituality. But like you said, I would like, if I would I mean, I think studying like Japanese things, for example, I think it's really interesting, and it resonates with me as well. But I would find it like, like you said, if I would come dressed, I would feel like it's almost like I'm trying to mock them or something. Not really. It just doesn't
Feels a
feel
bit
right, because
inappropriate,
just like
maybe.
it's inappropriate. It just, I personally would feel inappropriate. I wouldn't, it would feel strange to me. I mean, saying that, I mean, I do have my ankh as well. So, and that's Egypt. But I also, I have a very specific way of thinking about Egypt.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like just because I'm wearing an ankh, I don't feel like I'm mocking anything. So I feel like just because someone would wear runes, they're not like mocking anything. I'm just thinking now like becoming like like an authority figure within that. I would just find it a bit weird, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's me. I'm just very funny, and I ask too many questions as well, and I just, but maybe I'm a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, that's also like in nowadays society that is very easily offended, and we just had like the last few years, it's just come up also with like the appropriation of culture, or like misappropriation of that has become very big, and people started to be like really careful about these things. So I don't know how much about that also is like this kind of shame or guilt or anxiety of being like, ooh, but if I do this, and other people will be like, oh no, you're misrepresenting my culture and I'm deeply offended. We have this whole thing as well that's kind of a background that kind of plays with it, and some people just don't give a shit. But
but I also think I think it also kind of depends on like if the people would see something. If you went to Japan, for example, and you studied all of this, and people in Japan were like, oh my God, like there's something within you. You doing like, they would probably claim for you that, you know what, you are worthy of wearing this, you're worthy of this title because of what I think it's different. If you just like self-proclaim is different as well.
It is different, but then even in those cases, like I can still see that it is very real and really, really cases where people say go to Tibet or whatnot and study and are like with monks for like 10, 20 years and are completely in that culture and have taken on that identity, and then they come back into the West. And then people who are not from that culture, but people from other cultures would be like, you're misrepresenting their culture, you're not actually from there, because it's often the people pointing the fingers are also often not people who are actually in that culture that they're saying that this person is misrepresenting, often.
But I find it like, to me, like going to Tibet is more like finding yourself. So like their culture would help you.
It was just an example. Yes.
No, but but this is where I'm like, I can never stop. Just like, I don't know. I just find that different because they're not telling you to become a monk.
No.
You don't have to. You just have to abide by the rules when you're there. But then you're free to go whenever you want to go, I guess. So that would be up to you. It's it would be really cool to go there for like a year or so, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think it would.
I think I know some people who've been there for a few years, but I don't remember who. People I've met in passing anyway, who I was like, well, I just remember that I was like, ooh, like that's actually a person who's been there for like 5 years with monks or whatnot. But yeah.
Maybe I just say that because of like, it would be so nice to just like this quietness. Even though it's strict, just like.
You can also get that in the West, but we just talked about this in our was it the two? No, it was in the session with the media because Damien Echols was mentioned.
Damien,
and he also had quiet for a long time, but that was not not in that way.
Well, in the beginning, I think after a while, he said that he actually didn't even think of being in prison because he made it his temple, which is pretty cool. And I know like a lot of people say like being solitary or just being by yourself is like the worst thing. I'm thinking to myself, I think I would rather be by myself than being with people if I had to choose. So.
Yeah, as exile, yes, but I definitely not in solitary confinement in the USA because that's a very different beast altogether. I mean, and like one of the, now we can talk about that, but like in one of the interviews or podcasts where he was talking, he mentioned, and it's something that I was not aware of whatsoever, but he mentioned that when he was in solitary confinement, or rather after he got out. I mean, first when he was in solitary confinement, and the thing is that they get like 1 hour of being like outside, which is also not always, they don't always get that. And just this being completely shut off from the outside world, that you don't see the moon, you don't see the sun, that would be torturous, I think, to just be so completely in like a cell of concrete and there's nothing. And there you really have to go into some sort of just spiritual practice, or just be in your mind all the time. Otherwise you wouldn't survive, I think, or I wouldn't. But I would just go journeying all the time, I think. But anyway, like what I didn't realize is just that he said, like, when he came out, that his senses had become so accustomed to both the silence and the darkness, or like sort of darkness, or not darkness, but like especially the silence, there were no sounds, that when he came out, he had complete sensory overload in a way that was physically excruciating. Like all the sounds of being in actual world were intense. Like it was just basically cracking his ears open. And then also the light, because he'd gotten, his eyes were basically like a being that lives in a cave for many, many years. His eyes hadn't gotten extremely sensitive to light. So he has to wear like shades because his eyes were different. And this was like this physical change of the body from the mental change, obviously you go through a lot there, but then also the physical change that I had not been aware of that was a thing at all. And it was like, oh shit, that is intense. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that he ended up moving to New York as well, which is like a big city that is very noisy as well. So it's like a complete like contrast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe he
that
has
would
like
definitely
a nice apartment somewhere where she just don't hear anything.
I know he
don't know.
moved, but I'm not really sure if he's still in New York or if he moved somewhere else, because I think he lived in this really small New York flat somewhere, and now because he does the martial arts and stuff, so he has like a studio now. So I think I don't know if he's still in New York, but yeah, he's definitely an interesting character. And God, I remember the time when like this whole satanic panic thing. It's just mind blowing what's been happening, and it's just crazy. It's so crazy to think that someone would put someone in that position or in prison for not actually doing anything. Like,
yeah, and because you listen to like a certain type of music and all that, you're just evil.
And it happens often.
Yeah.
With a lot of different things.
Yeah, I would say hopefully not as much anymore in our Western society, but I guess we just get different. It's different labels. Like, I mean, it's not the same witch hunts anymore, and it's not the same satanic panic anymore, and that's different things. So people always have to.
I find the witch hunts now are more silent, while before it was like, she's a witch. Now it's more like you just get silenced.
Yeah, the cancel, like the whole cancel thing.
The whole cancel culture and stuff is just
culture.
Yeah. I just took the witches as a example, by the way, but it just really feels like it's still happening, but people just, like you said, I think people are just scared to point things out. So everything just happens silently. Just like a mental torture.
Well,
me and my positivity.
On that note, yeah, wow, look at the time once again. We're just chatting.
We can fill time with anything and nothing.
Yes. So great. I think we can end this episode here on the note of sound witch hunts and cancel culture. All right. Well, thanks for checking in, guys. Like and subscribe and comment if you've got anything to say. Catch you in the next wormhole. Good night.
Bye.
You've been listening to AmeLynn's Corner of Chaos. Well met.